Welcome to Freight Week STL 2024. I'm Mary Lamy, Executive Vice President of Multimodal Enterprises for Bi-State Development. Today is Freight Week Innovation Day, and for this session, we will focus on a St. Louis-based company developing technology that is improving supply chain visibility and efficiency across the country. Our featured panelist today is Rob Cook, Chief Technology Officer at Shear Logistics. Welcome, Rob. Tell us about your background and your organization.
Well, thanks, Mary. Thanks for having me. Yes, I've got close to 30 years of experience in the industry now. Started out way back in the consulting days with a company called Pete Marwick, which morphed into KPMG. My background has always been supply chain logistics with a touch of technology associated with it. About 10 years ago, I saw the vision that our founder of our company, Joe Eggerson, had. He founded the company in 2009. I liked the vision that he had, which was basically offering supply chain solutions empowered by technology. So I took a chance and came on board with him, and I never really looked back. And since then, we've experienced some exponential growth. We do offer what we call 4PL managed transportation solutions. And basically what that means is, I just want to make sure we kind of define that, is that we manage all the way from the purchase order out to vendors, all the way to the sales order that goes outside to customers as well, too. I mean, we have one customer, a couple of customers where we manage over 15,000 vendors, which goes through our network, through our systems. We manage, we optimize that, and we manage all the way out to the sales order and also the financial and the information flow that kind of goes along with that. So to kind of power those types of solutions, it does require a significant investment in technology. And again, like I said, that's what attracted me to the company as well. And we recently acquired a company called Cargo Barn, which is the third-party brokerage company. And that's going to augment a lot of the services that we have to offer out there. They're very strong in intermodal, spot brokerage, and drayage. And effectively, as a result of that acquisition, our company has doubled in size.
We understand your company was recently recognized by Supply and Demand Chain Executive Magazine with the Top Software and Tech Award in the Supply Chain Visibility category. Tell us about the product or solution that garnered this recognition.
Yeah, there's again, there's a big investment within the company in technology. And I want to be very clear that, we're not basically a technology company, but we do offer supply chain solutions that are powered by the technology. The award in particular that you're talking about was based on some of the dashboards that we developed that's reporting against CO2 emissions, specifically around scope 3 emissions. If you follow the news out in the marketplace right now, scope 3 is really garnering a lot of attention. It's very difficult to calculate. It's basically third-party CO2 calculations, which means basically it's not within the actual company itself, but it's the CO2 emissions their third parties actually calculate. We're the third party. And because it is a third party, it's the most difficult to calculate. And, we kind of cracked the nut on that one. And we offer solutions out there to be able to provide that as a service to our customers. The thing that's really important with those pieces is some of the mandates are coming about, especially like in California. You're starting to see where they're going to require any company $1 billion above in revenue are required to report scope 3. And, whether you like it or not, we are now part of the members of the Paris Climate Accords. And so there's going to be a lot of reporting requirements that would start journeying down into these net zero requirements. So yeah, it was very much a nice award to have, but it's also as part of the technology platform, which we call Shear Exchange. And Shear Exchange is integration, an integration platform at its heart. When you start thinking about managed transportation, it does require integrations into all these different disparate systems, ERP systems like SAP or Oracle, or third-party logistics systems as well too, or carrier systems. We're integrated with literally thousands of different carrier and logistics platforms out there. So we made the conscientious decision about 5 or 6 years ago to custom build our software, to build it in-house, to deploy it as a service and a solution out there. And some of these pieces obviously have, paid dividends as we start to recognize some of those awards, especially around some of the CO2 awards as well, or some of the CO2 requirements as we're going down that pathway. I think the other thing as well as you're starting to see this is what's so important as you're offering these managed transportation solutions is you're going to hear a lot around visibility. Visibility is important to, like, where's my truck? Where's my purchase order? But it's also visibility to the underlying data. We're able to calculate transportation cost down to SKU level, down in some cases even below SKU level, and also to be able to offer advanced accrual reporting. Well, why is that important? Well, it's probably not important to like your typical transportation or logistics professional, but to finance, it is important. They're always looking for the visibility of the data, visibility of the financials. And so being able to offer those services allows us to offer two revenue streams, both offering solutions into finance and also into transportation and logistics as well. Now, kind of playing on some of the CO2 initiatives that we have in play is we're now able to calculate CO2 down to the product level. Now, in the United States, that's not so important yet, but in Europe, they're starting to require that level of reporting. So that really puts us in a good position to be able to provide that once our customers kind of go down that path.
Okay, so we've been hearing a lot about AI and its impact on so many different industries. How are you seeing it impact the logistics industry or on your own operations or solutions?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, Amiri. I mean, I went to a conference back in Atlanta where I had a speaking engagement down there, and I'm just going to use a real estate term. The three topics of conversation was AI, AI, AI. I will say, on a personal note, when you look at some of the hype charts, especially when you look at Gartner, at the height of hype, or I guess I see at the top of the hype charts, is populated with everything associated with AI. And I do think, obviously, there's a ton of use cases for AI out there. I think some of it is maybe a little bit too premature. Some of it is not. But you cannot argue by the fact that when we came out with ChatGPT, when OpenAI released that was a game changer. And, for once, I felt like when I was looking at that, I was in the 21st century. I mean, this is kind of really kind of bizarre when you start seeing some of the power associated with it. I think some of the things you look at with large language models, they come in two different flavors. There's horizontal and vertical. Horizontal is like OpenAI. It's a mile wide. The vertical is a mile wide. The horizontal is much more conducive to an industry vertical itself. Bloomberg has come out with a large language model that's specific to the financial industry. I see that kind of evolving over on the logistics and transportation side as well, something very specific to that industry set. I think some of the other things that I've seen and I saw down at the conference was kind of sobering as well. If you look at the growth, the GDP, projected GDP of the United States over the next few years, and the employment growth, specifically transportation, logistics, and supply chain, it exceeds the labor participation rate. We're going to run out of people. And so it is going to become incumbent upon us either sooner or later, and I think it's going to be sooner, that we're going to have to start automating some of these positions. But I don't look at this automation necessarily as a bad thing, as replacing people. It's more like a co-pilot model, which you may have heard of as well, where he's kind of like a trusted advisor more than anything else. So I see a lot of benefit, a lot of use cases out of that. Us personally at Share, we've already deployed AI in some forms, not necessarily a large language model like you're starting to see with OpenAI, but we certainly have deployed automated solutions. It's got an AI look and feel on the back office, which I think has a lot of benefit in that area. We've also deployed a lot of AI around cybersecurity, which I think is really a nice use case around that, where, any more of the threats are real. And so some of the solutions that we deployed around that does take advantages a lot of the AI pieces as well in terms of being able to thwart potential intrusive attacks out there. So I think that is probably about 2 to 3 different use cases I could see out there, basically around the cybersecurity, absolutely there. Back office automation with AI, absolutely there as well. The other thing I think in terms of deployment also, and you see some of the services that we offer, is that we have these things called, there's 2 different concepts of alerts that we offer to our managed transportation customers. One is predictive alerts. Hey, you're going to have an outage. An example of that would be when the Red Sea went out. Okay, we got an alert. All of a sudden, our ocean transportation is going to it's going to increase by 14 days of transit. The Baltimore Bridge disaster as well. What impact is that going to have on our customers? So those are predictive analytics, predictive alerts that we offer to our customers. The second thing to that is called prescriptive piece. It's not only, hey, you got an alert, but how do you recover from this now? What is the prescription to recover from that? And I see a really strong use case for this as well. Sometimes you see some people kind of equate prescriptive alerts with exception management, and they're not really one and the same. I think prescriptive alerts with AI is that you avoid the exception to begin with because you've already recovered from it before it becomes an exception. So I think those are 3 or 4 use cases that I see around AI. And I think I want to emphasize one more time. I think the most sobering one it's just the fact that our growth is going to outstrip the ability for our people to fulfill those jobs. And so it's going to be incumbent upon us to look at ways to automate and to deploy AI accordingly.
All great examples. Okay, let's change gears and let's talk about growth. Sheer Logistics has experienced solid growth over the past 10 years. What have been some of the key drivers of that growth?
Well, certainly our managed transportation pieces out there have experienced phenomenal growth. Now, Mary, imperfect and be very, very transparent. When we think of managed transportation, when we think of sheer logistics, I gave you some examples of the services and solutions that we offer. It's a full outsource of managed transportation where the customer is going to turn the keys over basically to us to manage their logistics and supply chain operations. So that does require a lot of degree of trust. I think one of the challenges that we're facing, I think any company in the transportation logistics space right now, especially if they have a brokerage operation, is an exposure to the brokerage piece, which right now is going through a freight recession. And so that piece is a little bit challenging, quite a lot. There's a lot of capacity out there, excessive capacity in the trucking market. This compressing prices is really kind of driving down some of the brokerage margins out there. But on the positive side with Sheer, because of our managed transportation piece, it puts us in a very good position. So I would say that on managed transportation as of right now, we've never been as busy as we are right now. It is absolutely very, very busy. And so it gets us a good position to navigate as we kind of go through the recession that exists on the brokerage side.
Your company made a conscious decision to keep its headquarters in the St. Louis region. Can you tell us about the advantages of being located here in the Midwest?
Yes, our founder of our company, Joe Eggerson, is actually from St. Louis originally. So we made a conscientious decision to retain the headquarters in St. Louis. And really, it's no brainer. I mean, the access to talent, the access to the local universities, the access to the waterways as well. And it's just a lot of advantages to have a centralized location, especially when you look at the breadth and the size of the country. If you have an operation on the West Coast, you got to make sure that you keep the East Coast aligned as well. And certainly you do get into some time zone considerations. Likewise, if you're on the East Coast, you got to make sure you keep the West Coast aligned as well. So it just makes perfectly good sense to retain the headquarters within the St. Louis area. Again, like I said, the access to local talent, being able to drive, the pool in with the local universities, also some of the local organizations such as CSCMP that we participate with those. Those are supply chain programs that we participate in as well. So there's just a lot of advantages of having the headquarters there. As I state that, I want to be very clear as well that Shear is just not an American-based transportation organization, transportation company. Also, we do have offices down in Mexico. We do cross-border moves up in Canada. Also, with our managed transportation providers, we offer solutions that basically are worldwide, whether we're tracking real-time containers, ocean, air, truck, or LTL. I think there's only one continent that we don't do business in, and that's Antarctica. And basically, after that, it's basically a worldwide organization. So yeah, I mean, given the local access to talent, the local infrastructure pieces as well, it just makes sense to keep the organization and the company HQ there in St. Louis.
Okay, so Rob, for your closing comments, can you stay on the topic of workforce and talk a little bit about the job opportunities in the logistics industry and the career path options for those who may be interested in joining a company like Shear Logistics?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the AI piece of it, one of the sobering stats that we have out there is that, based upon GDP and employment growth, we're going to outstrip the replacement piece out there. So, yeah, I think right now, in terms of being able to find jobs in supply chain and logistics, is probably a golden opportunity at this point. Me personally, I look for people that, even though I carry a title of Chief Technology Officer, it's not so much an IT role. It's much more of a business solution that's got a little bit of technology in play. So I would look for folks who are basically much more with experience in supply chain and logistics, maybe with a little bit of technology. I think that one of the things that's really important, which may be a little controversial, but I'll state it anyway, as you get out of the university, out of the college environments, after 5, 6, 7 years, it becomes much more important the skills that you've acquired versus the colleges or the universities that you went to. So in my area, with that, with having that background in supply chain and logistics, maybe an undergraduate in a supply chain program would be invaluable. We also have openings. We're always looking for people in carrier sales, which is a high-paced position where you're actually at that point covering loads for customers. You're doing procurement opportunities at that point as well. Again, it's high-paced and no 2 days are alike. So it's really a challenge, and it's also a lot of reward in that area as well. I think lastly on that subject, what I would strongly encourage, especially with rising juniors or seniors or even sophomores as well too, is to seek out those those programs out there that allow you to work with customers and or work with companies and gain that experience out there before you actually enter the real world. I think a lot of times the universities don't prepare you totally for what to expect out there. So I think it's very important to achieve that. Make sure you have those relationships established and then set yourself up accordingly. So again, I think, like I said before, I really believe right now is a very good opportunity in supply chain and logistics, specifically around just the demographic challenges that we're going to be facing in the future.
Okay, so thank you, Rob. What a great discussion. I think we all have a deeper understanding now of the importance of greater supply chain visibility, also about the role technology can play in helping to provide that clearer picture of where freight is in transit, greater ability to track and reduce emissions, and superior insight on freight cost. That type of visibility can be a real game changer, and you're delivering it from right here in the St. Louis region. Thank you for sharing your insights with us today. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for FreightWeekSTL 2024. Their support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver the great content that is the hallmark of this annual conference. Our presenting sponsors are Ameren, Illinois Railroad Association, and Steadfast City. Our supporting sponsors are the Boeing Center, Contegra, Design 9, HNTB, the Hauser Group, and the Jerry Costello Group. Freight Week continues tomorrow with 2 panel discussions. The first one will focus on how collaboration and investment produce cargo growth on the inland waterways. The second panel session tomorrow will highlight trends impacting agriculture and the barge industry. We hope you can join us and encourage you to share links to all of our Freight Week content with others who may be interested.